Kensington Gardens, please.
Yeah. Do you mind, sir?
Yes, I do. Drive on.
She looks worried, sir. I'll have to stop.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
So where is he, Herbert?
We really don't know, Home Secretary.
It's we when you're in trouble. I when we've had some small success.
I don't know, Home Secretary.
Herbert, we do not invite important trade ministers to this country just to have them whisked from under our noses.
Home Secretary.
Listen.
Listening, Home Secretary.
Palin is a very important person. He has just signed a trade deal extremely favourable to our country. We have him lined up for television appearances and press conferences, and you let this happen.
Correction, Home Secretary. I didn't let it happen.
It happened in spite of the fact that you are controller of the PCD.
Please, ma'am.
And don't call me ma'am. You know I can't stand it. Pull yourself together, Herbert. What are we doing to find him?
The security of all trade commissioners is the responsibility of Miss Blake, Home Secretary.
Then have her in.
Miss Blake, will you come in, please? The Home Secretary would like a word.
I do hope it's not too far for her to walk.
You didn't use the buzzer.
The wire's broken. I think the rats have been at it again. Palin's come round.
Too bad. I've still had no word from Riley.
The amplifier you wanted.
Good girl.
It's getting a bit difficult. I was nearly caught.
It's a wonder the TV service works at all, the stuff you've managed to remove. Lay off a bit, eh? My system will work.
I don't share your faith in gadgets.
Not faith, calculation.
The Greeks consulted the oracle at Delphi. We consult a computer.
If we're going to smash the PCD, our communications must be up to theirs. Better if we're going to break into their state TV slush.
I'm not putting you down.
That's why I'm living in this attic like a tramp. And I intend to stay here until the job's done.
All that matters, Miss Blake, is that you are responsible for the security of visiting politicians, and one of the most important of them has gone missing.
Deliberately.
I'm sorry?
Mr. Palin has an appetite not only for multi-million-dollar deals, but also for ladies. He's had trouble in Washington, and even more in Paris and Rome. Every trade deal that he negotiates has its trail of very young women.
Prostitutes?
Not all of them.
But he can't have spent all this time with a prostitute.
May I help, Home Secretary? He was leaving a young lady when he was abducted.
Seduced and then abducted. What a man. I should like to meet this Palin.
We'll do all we can to accommodate you, Home Secretary.
That might be difficult. We've no news of him, not the slightest trace.
And why not?
I think, Home Secretary, you best ask McCrae. I gave his enforcement section the responsibility of ensuring Palin's security.
Get him in, Herbert.
Tell McCrae to come in immediately. Send in some coffee.
Yes?
Centre. You want us to accept the patient in the next hour?
Yes. It's an urgent for the full treatment.
Right. Very well. Centre have a full treatment case for us. Violent, but already sedated. Name of Steiner.
Dissident?
Yes, I suppose.
When will they ever learn, eh? I say, just look at that.
Scarden passed the buck to Miss Blake. Miss Blake passed it to you. Who are you going to nominate?
I don't pass bucks, Home Secretary. Palin was my responsibility.
Was.
Is, I hope.
And so say all of us.
It was no use pretending, ma'am. Some of our dissidents are now more violent. Indeed, I half expect to hear that...
Spare us a catalogue of your deepest fears, McCrae.
Keep your explanations simple, McCrae.
Palin is a problem. He doesn't like being surrounded by bodyguards when he's visiting his ladies. Why, only last year...
Never mind about last year. What about now?
He ditched his embassy guards and then...
And then ditched ours.
He is very slippery, sir.
And you have no idea where he might be?
He was abducted by a taxi, which we found on some waste land. I have forensic going over it now, ma'am.
This is not just another PCD mistake. One squad jumping another in error.
My section don't make errors like that, ma'am.
The kidnap method sounds like the one they've tried on you, Miss Blake. Thank you, McCrae.
Controller.
So what were you waiting to say, Herbert?
In spite of your insistence that it was no more than a premonition that prompted you to ask for extra guards, I still think you were tipped off, Miss Blake.
If you were, we'd better know about it, hadn't we?
It was no more than an underworld buzz.
It fell on Kyle's ears. He does keep sleazy company.
Miss Blake?
He thought I was inadequately guarded.
McCrae, when you have a moment, pick up Kyle, bring him to me personally.
Keep me informed, Herbert, even if you only bare your teeth at him.
Patient to deliver, name of Steiner.
Thank you, McCrae. I shall take Mr. Kyle to the controller.
Miss Blake?
So, what does the old fake think I've done this time?
He thinks you put me up to asking for extra guards.
He only thinks.
Suspects.
All right, what's it all about?
Palin.
Trade envoy.
We want him back, James.
You know someone snatched Palin? Wow, that's rich, isn't it?
Don't look at me, Lynn Blake.
Scarden thinks that there's a connection between my kidnapping and Palin's.
I bet he was with a woman at the time. Make a good story.
Which you can't use.
Lynn, I had nothing to do with snatching Palin. Maybe he just went off with a blonde.
Right, phase one.
3 seconds.
3 seconds.
Alpha activity dropping.
We're losing him.
Still dropping.
He's gone. When I was a student, my prof used to say the brain's like a jelly. Poke at it too hard, it'll wobble in the most unpredictable places. Get a death certificate, Pat.
Kyle, I can understand you, sympathize even when you defy us politically. But this is a criminal act, an act of violence, something you affect to detest.
I don't know anything about Palin.
Your friends do.
Don't have any friends, Herbert.
That doesn't surprise me. You know who tried to kidnap Miss Blake?
No?
Yet you knew enough to warn her?
I heard whispers, that's all.
But you can't put faces to the voices.
No.
Not even for money.
For money?
You bought enough information when you were one of the pimps of the Fourth Estate. Lately, we've had reason to believe you've been selling it to those foreign papers that can't stand our country. Now sell us, son.
I wouldn't sell you blood if you needed a transfusion.
Like all journalists, Kyle, you're a righteous whore.
Even whores have principles. They don't like being raped. It combines injury with theft.
Don't start working up to your gallows speech yet, Kyle. We're not going to grant you the privilege of martyrdom. That doesn't mean we would hesitate to commit you for deep interrogation on a criminal matter.
We?
We? You're in the information market. So are we. Sell.
I'm leaving.
Kyle, you're not going anywhere. You're not leaving this headquarters until we have a full statement. Miss Blake, would you sign an interrogation order, please?
I know nothing about the kidnapping of Palin.
It's only for an interrogation, Miss Blake.
It won't take too long, Miss Blake.
You have my memo about forced confessions, and the Home Secretary has a copy.
Forced confessions, Miss Blake? All we're asking of Kyle is a statement. The truth.
I'll sign no form.
Sign it, Lynn. It's only a formality. I don't know what pills you're on, McCrae, but you must be as tired as I am.
I jog 5 miles every day, Kyle. I'm no dissolute hack.
Congratulations. Look, could I have my glasses back, please?
So let me ask you again. You have friends who snatched Vasily Palin.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was that a question? It sounded like a statement.
Now, let me put it another way. You advised Miss Blake that she was at risk before your friends tried to snatch her. Well?
I said she must be at risk, as indeed is Scarden, as indeed are you.
Don't threaten me, Kyle.
Now, they'll probably roll you off Ben Nevis.
This is on the record, remember. It is being recorded, and that could be interpreted as a threat.
I wouldn't want them to roll you off Ben Nevis, McCrae. The deck of a herring trawler at the mouth of the Clyde, perhaps.
Your friends of Palin, who are they?
I'm rather thirsty. I think it must be the central heating here at the PCD. Can't be very good for you.
I'll have them pull down the temperature to what you regard as ideal. If you don't come to your senses, Kyle, your tongue will be hanging out tomorrow.
Kyle? He is the underground press.
And a security risk.
I trust him. He is the guy with the world press contacts, and that is what I want. World coverage.
But is it the kind of story that'll do us any good? Now Palin's dead.
Well, we didn't kill him. It blackens the PCD, not us.
Perhaps we should think again.
About Kyle, certainly. I was with another group and was sure he gave away our plans.
All right. He has a woman in the PCD, but he has the foreign press. And that's what's important, Alan. Though I still think Palin's death is a defeat for us.
I don't think we should get involved with elements like Kyle.
Elements? He's a dissident!
With a woman in the PCD!
He could be using her.
I'm for using him. I could spend all week ringing around the foreign press here in London and not get a line in. He is a professional.
I'll put a message on his answer phone.
We'll use an accent. He's just as likely to hand over the recording to his lady friend, Miss Blake.
You can take the needle quietly, or fight. It'll still go in.
Truth drugs come in pills now, didn't you know?
You'd only spit them out.
How true.
It is not special pleading.
Miss Blake, the PCD carries out some 3,000 interrogations a day. The moment we put slightly more than normal pressure on Kyle...
I have asked you to intervene, Home Secretary, because I believe that this is not the best way this department can make use of Kyle's talents.
We seem to have tried kindness, Miss Blake, and inducements. And if Kyle does know the identity of these kidnappers...
I doubt that he does.
He seemed to know enough in advance of the attempt to abduct you.
He'd heard rumours.
I should be careful, Miss Blake.
He'd heard rumours.
From whom?
Precisely, Home Secretary.
But I still think we're giving Kyle ammunition.
I'm sorry.
Letting McCrae interrogate him.
I doubt he'll remember much after McCrae's finished with him.
May I advise you to be careful, Herbert? It might look like a personal vendetta.
I have nothing against Kyle, personally, that is. What are you afraid of, Miss Blake?
The reputation of this department in the world at large. We've already begun to smell. People are holding their noses all the way to Australia.
That's an extremely disloyal thing to say, Miss Blake.
Oh, I don't know, Herbert. Let her go on.
I have no more to say, Home Secretary.
This is not important. It's something simple I want you to tell me. And you're an honest man. Have you met Vasily Palin?
Yes.
And where did you meet him?
I met him at a press conference once.
And not since?
No.
Do you know these people who've taken him away?
I don't know who they are.
Oh, come on, Jim, you must know them. You're the best informed reporter in Britain.
He's not a reporter, he's an ex-reporter. What's he come up with?
He has confirmed he was a member of a Pentagon cell with a man called Abe. And Abe is one of the group
They
that...
tried to kidnap me, yes, I know. Abe who?
He says he knew him only as Abe.
So he probably did. Give him the antidote.
We've only just started, Miss Blake.
You have just now finished.
I insist on calling the controller for confirmation.
Give him the antidote first on the orders of the Home Secretary.
Return to normal in about an hour. Until then, he will probably show an amusing tendency to tell the truth.
You ought to go to bed.
I've got things to do.
Serious offence drinking black market bourbon.
Well, you're watching me, so you must be an accessory. I'm merely washing down some of McCrae's drugs with my own.
Everything is relative. That is death to an alcoholic.
That's right.
Tell Lynn Blake to look in ARC5 for a patient admitted at 5:10 p.m. in the name of Steiner. Very good for trade.
What was that?
Tell Lynn Blake to look in ARC5, patient by the name of Steiner. Very good for trade.
We could voice print that. Play it again.
What a pity. I'll just wipe the tape. Oh, I shouldn't bother to dial, Lynn. That phone is connected to your surveillance room 24 hours a day.
Hello, this is Lynn Blake. I want a secure line to ARC5. I'm speaking from a listed number, 63191-854. Could you check it for calls quoting my name and call me back? Yes. Thank you.
I don't know. Stop asking me questions.
Lynn Blake?
Sorry, Miss Blake. Nothing in the log at all.
No messages of any kind?
No, none at all.
I see. Never mind, get me the ARC. Hello, this is Lynn Blake, Deputy Controller.
Dr. Mayers here.
I want information on a patient named Steiner, admitted at 5:10 p.m. today.
Yes, Miss Blake. Steiner. Lionel Steiner. Deceased.
Deceased?
Accident, Miss Blake. It happens sometimes.
Can you give me a description of him?
Oh, he was around 50. Stocky build.
Darkish brown hair.
Darkish brown hair. Overweight.
Did he have any papers on him?
Oh, just his PCD documentation. Oh, and he was wearing a ring. Initials engraved.
What are the initials?
They look like VP.
Keep him where he is.
He isn't like to move, Deputy Controller. Oh, looks like a cock-up at their end as well.
Thanks for the use of the phone.
What's the rush? It's a state funeral?
I'd like to stay, but I'll call you.
Lynn? If Palin is a corpse in one of your adult rehabilitation centres, that really is going to be one hell of a story for the foreign press.
Then you'd better tell whoever did it to keep very quiet about it.
Don't know who did it. Lynn, McCrae was telling me that I was being treated like a prince compared to 3 scientists who were in for interrogation.
I don't know anything about them.
You're a sweet, sweet liar.
James, I
Their
have to go.
Their names were Jefferson, Howden, and Ramsden, known as the Cambridge Three. And they were accused of refusing to divulge the results of their tests on human behavior to the PCD.
I can't talk about them.
How about a swap?
What?
One scientist released every 24 hours, starting now, for every day I can keep the foreign press off this Palin story.
Oh, I can't make deals like that.
No, you...
Kyle, you have Miss Blake with you.
Oh, that's naughty, but she's
here of her own free will, which is more than could be said of Palin in your Adult Rehabilitation Centre 5. I'd like to know a bit more about that. Miss Blake's not telling me anything. How about you?
Stop being facetious and put her on.
certainly.
I suppose you heard about Palin because my call from here was intercepted.
And don't discuss delicate matters in Kyle's presence.
I was on my way to see you when you called.
Make it quick, Miss Blake.
Coming in now. I'm beginning to think that you are something of a masochist.
I'm merely a wheeler and dealer in information. 3 scientists for 3 days' silence.
Scarden could have you arrested this minute.
Make up your mind, Lynn. Somewhere there is a whole series of one-way mirrors. Somebody sits behind each one, staring through the silvered glass at somebody sitting on the other side. That person, in turn, is watching somebody else. Nobody laughs. All straight-faced and reflective. And the last watches the first. They all think it's bad. And what they don't seem to know is that above their heads is a huge magnifying glass through which peers a vast, unblinking eye.
Go off to your wonderful America and see if it's any different.
Ah, the world is a nasty, nasty place, Lynn. And what are we doing to improve it?
Trying to sift out the dirt.
I understood these methods were 100% reliable.
In 90% of cases, they are.
How many have died?
I don't know the exact figure.
Why wasn't I told?
The information's all in the computer.
A lot of good it's doing there. Do you suppose the computer phones me up every time it's got something vital on its tapes?
No, Mr. McRae.
Then why didn't you report back to headquarters?
We have a system. The subject is delivered, and we put them in for normalization.
You call this normal? Any fool can normalize a man into a cop.
I must stress, Mr. McRae, that neither I nor my staff can accept responsibility.
Don't start barrack room lawyering me, Mayors. You have just ripped the wiring out of a vital delegate with your expensive 100% reliable electronic pliers, and if I were you, I would keep my mouth firmly shut.
Yes, sir.
Has this process left any marks on him?
None whatsoever.
What would a post-mortem find?
Cardiac arrest, linked with an epileptic attack.
Oh, that's something. We can use that. Get his clothes back on and load him into my helicopter.
We want this thing hushed up, not turned into a public debate. Some quite ordinary explanation. He died in the arms of a prostitute. We'll lay one on. That'll embarrass Palin's delegation. We may yet pull back the trade agreement. How's that?
Has the advantage of not being too imaginative.
Good. Good.
Kyle has offered to help. On conditions.
Kyle's on to you. He spent 2 days asking around if anyone had seen you.
You better contact him, Liz. Tell him he can work with us. We need allies, and he could be an important one.
He's an enemy.
Of the state. He was fired from his paper in Fleet Street because he wouldn't toe the official line. A prime PTD target.
Don't be deceived. He's an image merchant.
You're just prejudice. And we need him.
I agree.
All right. I'm in a minority. I'll get him on an untraceable call. The rest's up to you. Fetch him tonight.
You going to tell me about Palin?
I'd rather talk about us.
Don't you think I want to get rid of the wretched system? But to you it's a war. Total commitment. And to hell with going away with me. Even for a short break. Which is what I'd like.
Me too. However, I have to know about Palin.
That call on your answer phone was a hoax. Palin was up to naughty things with a lady. And the strain was too much for his heart.
Oh, that's nice. Almost convincing.
If it convinces you, James, 3 scientists get exit visas. Now, can we plan our long weekend?
Stand still.
I've already checked.
Seems all right. Sit down if you like.
Thank you.
You've been looking for us.
Who's us? I was looking for Alan Graham. It was Alan, I take it.
Possibly. The less you know, the better.
Well, I'm sure that Alan's opinion of me is as low as mine is of him.
He's never supported the practices that go on in this country.
Neither have I.
We're dedicated to overthrowing this whole regime. We're opposed to state monopolies pretending to be democratic. We're opposed to concentration camps. We're opposed to secret police. We're opposed to the closing of our national frontiers, and we're opposed to the censorship.
I think Alan must have seen a very bright light on the road to Damascus. Do you think he's opposed to all these things because he's not running them?
We're going to put this country and its economy back into the hands of the ordinary people.
Providing they let you run it for them.
We believe in elections.
Yes, well, so do this lot. They believe in them so much they're afraid to hold any.
So what do you believe in?
Very little.
That's very cynical.
Look, this is not a debating society. Why did you want to see me?
You were trying to see Alan. Are you with us against the PCD or not?
I'm against the PCD, yes. I'm not necessarily with you. I don't believe in political steamrollers of any kind.
But you are a political movement.
I don't talk rubbish. I just oppose an obvious evil, that's all.
If you oppose anything, it's a political act.
Doesn't have to be a dogma. Listen, why do you people always expect us to climb aboard your vast ship of rigid theories and ignore all the holes in the bottom of the ship until we are drowning?
Who's we?
Oh, forget it, love. I have heard it all before.
How arrogant!
All right, if you want me to state the obvious, I will state the obvious. There is an ordinary decency and an ordinary humanity that does not need a movement. All it needs is elbow room. Now, if I have any theory at all, it's this. Give us the elbow room, and for God's sake, let us get on with our lives.
This country won't ever change if we have to rely on the romantic whims of solitary cowboys.
Oh, come on, get on with it.
Are you cynical about everything? Every time I mention the value of some kind, you sneer, as though believing in anything noble or tender was perverse.
Alan will not bring you nobility or tenderness. All Alan will bring you is brand free of straitjacket economics and formula art. Now, you just get the blinkers away from your eyes. And do not swallow everything Alan tells you.
Why do you assume that Alan's the master of my mind? He's just one of us. He's no higher and no lower. It wouldn't occur to you to think that Alan might be working for me, would it? You get out of the blinkers, Mr. Kyle.
If I agree to cooperate, will you promise to argue with me again? Oh, it was nice meeting you. Pity, I wanted to see Alan.
What do you want?
What I don't want. I don't want you leaking stories to the foreign press about what you did to Palin, or what you had done to Palin. Now, it was all very clever. But you see, Alan is inclined to boast a bit. And it just wouldn't help.
Wouldn't help who? You or us?
Hello, Alan.
I still say you tipped off your mistress. Your PCD lady.
Well, you nearly came a cropper there, didn't you? I did warn you.
And her?
No.
I say you did.
Anyway, what are you trying to stir up, nosing round here after me?
I want your help. Don't shout to the world about Palin.
Who says we had anything to do with Palin?
Alan had your trademark all over it. Don't be silly. I can't prove you did it. I know it was done. All right, I'm not weeping for Palin. After all, he's on the security committee in his own country, and they've got the same nasty habits as the PCD. But for every day we keep the foreign press off this story, I can get one hostage released from the PCD, and I'm starting with 3 scientists. The first, Professor Ramsden.
You? And what the hell's it got to do with you?
Alan, I have negotiated that deal. What deals have you negotiated lately?
Get him lost. On the end of a pier, preferably.
I disagree. We have another candidate for transfer to an ARC. Herbert Scarden. Would you help us get him there?
There's a certain poetry about it. However, I am keeping Herbert Scarden for the glass cage before the Human Rights Tribunal.
That's wishy-washy. Unless we fight now, this regime will never collapse.
I'm not stopping you fighting now.
But you don't want us to win. What's wrong with putting Scarden through his own mill?
Nothing, I suppose. Providing he isn't killed. Even accidentally. You didn't do very well with Palin, did you? Alan, you had an ace in your hand and you turned it into a throwaway card.
I want Scarden cut up into little pieces.
Think again, Alan. Think again. Now, Palin was very good. Inspired, even. But not Herbert Scarden, because he is going to be the biggest scarecrow in our national history. Understood? Well, if I can't help you in any other way, how do I get in touch?
Tell him.
Dial your own number on your own phone.
If only you were as clever at politics and tactics as you are at electronics.
Get him lost!
Show him out.
Alan, give me a few days to get those scientists out. Now, please. Thank you.
What do you think?
The whole point about fixing Palin was to tell the world what happened to him.
Still, he is right about one thing. We'll not snatch Scarden. We'll have Lynn Blake.
You tried that once. It won't work.
Oh, good morning, Home Secretary. Reynolds here. Are you at the office already, Reynolds? I think I must have been the first day-duty civil servant at work in Whitehall today, Home Secretary. I wanted to remind you that you have 2 additional visitors this morning, and that your diaries are a bit congested this afternoon.
I wanted to remind you that you have 2 additional visitors this morning, and that your diary's a bit congested this afternoon.
Look. Just look at this filth. All over every foreign rag. Couldn't have been more thorough if they'd held a damn press conference. These liars have got every detail right. Well, so much for deals with your friend Kyle. We'd better not have released any of those scientists.
One's got away, Professor Ramsden.
Then have him rearrested.
McRae sent a squad round to his home. He's disappeared.
You bet he has. Kyle cheats and he lies.
Kyle did not put that story out.
Oh, no, not him. He'd never. And the cow jumped over Big Ben.
He assures me he had nothing to do with it.
You try telling that to the Home Secretary. Any moment now, she'll be hissing and spitting at me down that thing. And if she comes into this room, don't you run away. You stay here and take some of the spite.
Mr. Scarden, I've done some checking. That story was given to AP, the American press agency.
By Kyle?
No.
By whom, then?
And they gave it out to the world.
They swallowed that whole...
I imagine they checked it.
They checked it with Kyle. Good morning, Home Secretary.
Herbert, Miss Blake. How long since you had a medical check for a coronary, Herbert? Tranquilizers ready?
I still think you put that story out. Who else could?
Look, there are other journalists who haven't sold out, 1 or 2. I don't have the monopoly on foreign press contacts.
Something like one.
Lynn, why should I release the story before you have released all 3 scientists?
You got one, then the scoop merchant inside you overcame the human being. It has been known in journalists.
Lynn, I did not, repeat, did not release that story.
Damn.
Oh, leave it.
Useless. Control know I'm here. What's more, they know you are. If I leave it, we'll have 6 men sent round to break in.
Answer it.
Yes?
Miss Blake?
Yes?
Reynolds here, Miss Blake.
Sorry to disturb you, but the Home Secretary would like to see you at the Home Office right away.
But surely she knows I'm just starting dinner.
Such a pity, Miss Blake, but it
It is urgent. I'm sure the Home Secretary would not wish to spoil your evening.
Oh, yes, she would, and you know it, Reynolds. The Home Secretary. Could you, see the meal doesn't spoil? I hope I won't be too long.
We've been sent to warn you. The diversions are fake. Right, you in the front. Think.
Do I get a trial?
Yes. Are you a deputy controller of the PCD?
Yes.
Guilty.
I know what's going to happen to me.
Yes. You're going on a trip. That's fine.
Home Office? Could I speak to Lynn Blake, please? She's with the Home Secretary.
Sorry, there's no reply.
I see. Put me through to Herbert's Garden, please. PCD.
It has to stop, McRae. These dissident groups are sprouting like toadstools. We must have a national plan to clean them up.
Indeed, I agree, Controller.
Yes.
Mr. Scarden, is Lynn Blake with you, please?
That's not Kyle, is it? Our treacherous double dealer?
Herbert, where is Lynn?
How the devil should I know?
Well, she was supposed to be in conference with the Home Secretary, but I can get no reply.
Kate Smith left the Home Office some 3 hours ago. Her present whereabouts are no concern of yours. If Miss Blake chooses to run away from your formidable charms, it's your hard luck.
Yes, Kyle.
Alan, where is Lynn?
I'm not the Missing Persons Bureau.
Where is she? If you've got her...
What will you do? Wag a finger and say naughty children?
Kyle? Right, put him through.
I want you to order a stop on all treatments to any female admissions to any of your adult rehabilitation centres tonight.
You lost your senses. We can't stop all rehabilitation treatment just like that. The Arcs are overwhelmed with essential work, whatever for.
Lynn is missing.
And do you think she may be in an adult rehabilitation centre? You have lost your senses. Besides, we have a great many Arcs.
Well, how many have you got? I mean, how many in London and the home counties?
None of your business.
Look, I'm not asking you, Herbert. I am pleading with you. No more treatment on any female admitted tonight, whatever they look like, please.
I don't trust you, Kyle. You're too tricksy. McRae.
Right.
You're trespassing, Kyle.
Where's Lynn Blake?
How did you find us?
I asked a passing rat.
It was undisciplined of you to come. You could have brought the PCD on your
It
tails.
was undisciplined of you to snatch Lynn Blake yet again. Now, where is she?
Never you mind. She's not your property. So, you did bring the PCD.
But they're not PCD, they're ours.
And they can shoot straighter than you.
So put your guns down.
It's suicide.
If you want it rough, you'll have it rough. Where is she?
No violence, you see.
Alan! Where is she? Where is she, Alan? Where is she?
No violence, it's someone who suits you, Kyle!
Is she? Where is she?
That'll do,
Where is
Mr.
she?
Kyle! We are on the same side.
Yes, Mr. Scarden.
No further treatment on any women patients till further notice, Mayors. That was my message to all centres. I understand you're treating one now.
Well, we'd already administered stage 1 when we got your message, sir. We were about to administer stage 2.
Then stop, do you hear? And bring her to at once if that's medically possible.
Yes, Mr. Scarden. Forget stage 2. Try and bring her round if possible.